Today I picked up one tube of Colgate Total Whitening toothpaste and read every word printed on it. The front of the tube makes several confident promises, but the back tells a much more interesting story. One ingredient carries almost the entire formula. Another explains why the whitening claim sounds bigger than it really is. And one of the last ingredients surprised me for a reason I did not expect. I read every word on the label. Here is my honest verdict. Colgate is one of the most recognized toothpaste brands in America. Chances are there is a tube sitting in your bathroom right now. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually turned it over and read the ingredient list from top to bottom? Most people never do. I didn't either for a very long time. Where I grew up, we did not choose products because of colourful packaging or television commercials. We looked at whether something worked, how long it lasted, and whether every part of it had a purpose. We didn't call it a method. It was just how it was done. That old habit never left me, and today it led me straight to this tube. The front of the package talks about whitening, prevention, healthier gums, fresh breath, enamel protection, and a long list of other benefits. None of those claims are automatically wrong, but whenever I see a package trying to tell me many things at once, I become more interested in the small print than the large print. I held the tube in one hand and slowly worked through every ingredient. The first thing I wanted to find was the active ingredient, because that usually tells you what the product is truly built around. Everything else helps deliver that ingredient, improve texture, create foam, add flavor, or make the experience more pleasant. That is where the real story begins. The active ingredient is stannous fluoride. This is what the ingredient list shows. Unlike ordinary fluoride alone, stannous fluoride has several jobs. It helps protect against cavities, supports gum health, and can reduce tooth sensitivity for many people. That is not marketing language. That is the actual purpose of the ingredient. My conclusion is simple. If there is one reason this toothpaste stands apart from many cheaper formulas, it begins here. The formula is built around an active ingredient with multiple functions, not just one. My verdict on this part of the label is positive. This ingredient earns its place. But that is only the beginning. Everything underneath it tells another story. The next names are sorbitol, water, glycerin, and hydrated silica. Most people skip right past them because they sound ordinary. I learned to judge food before I learned to judge anything else. That part of me never left. When I see familiar functional ingredients grouped together, I ask one question. What job is each one doing? Sorbitol and glycerin mainly help the toothpaste stay smooth and moist. Without them, the paste would dry out much faster. Water gives the formula its body. None of these ingredients are there because they sound exciting. They are there because toothpaste has to remain usable from the first squeeze to the last. Then we come to hydrated silica. Read that again. Hydrated silica. Many people assume whitening toothpaste contains some kind of bleach. This label says something different. Hydrated silica is a polishing ingredient. It helps remove surface stains left by coffee, tea, wine, or everyday foods. It does not bleach the tooth from the inside. It works by cleaning away what sits on the surface. That changed the way I looked at whitening toothpaste years ago. I trusted the word whitening before I ever understood how it actually happened. Once I read labels instead of advertisements, the picture became much clearer. Does that mean the whitening claim is false? No, it means the mechanism is different from what many people imagine. My verdict is that the label supports a surface polishing effect, not a dramatic chemical whitening treatment. Those are two different ideas. Now let me ask you something. When you buy a whitening toothpaste, what are you expecting it to do? Remove stains? Or actually change the colour of your teeth? Those expectations matter more than the word printed on the box. The next ingredient that caught my attention was PEG. It helps keep the formula stable and evenly mixed. It improves texture and helps different ingredients work together. This is one of those names that often worries people simply because it sounds chemical. Everything in this tube is made of chemicals. Water is a chemical. Salt is a chemical. The question is never whether a name sounds scientific. The question is what role it plays in the finished product. My conclusion here is straightforward. PEG is performing a manufacturing function rather than pretending to be an active health ingredient. I prefer labels that make those differences easy to recognize. Then I reached tetrasodium pyrophosphate. That is a long name for a practical purpose. This ingredient helps reduce the buildup of hardened deposits on teeth by interfering with mineral accumulation. It is not there to freshen breath or whiten teeth directly. It serves another supporting role. I appreciate labels that include ingredients with a specific reason for existing. Even if most shoppers never recognize the name, every ingredient should have a job. The next familiar name is sodium lauryl sulfate. Many viewers have heard of this one. Sodium lauryl sulfate creates foam. Foam feels like cleaning. It spreads toothpaste through the mouth more easily. But some people also find it irritating, especially if they frequently develop mouth ulcers or have a sensitive mouth. This is where reading labels becomes personal. One ingredient can work perfectly well for one person and still be a reason for someone else to choose a different product. I bought toothpaste with sodium lauryl sulfate for years without thinking twice. Then I started paying attention to ingredient lists instead of logos. That simple habit taught me more than any advertisement ever did. If your mouth feels perfectly comfortable using products like this, the ingredient may never become an issue. If it regularly leaves your mouth irritated, this line on the label suddenly becomes much more important. What about you? Have you ever switched toothpaste because one formula simply felt better than another? I would genuinely like to know. The ingredient list continues with cellulose ingredients that help keep the texture consistent. These are structural ingredients. They keep the paste from separating inside the tube. Again, no mystery, no miracle, just manufacturing. Then comes zinc phosphate. This caught my attention because zinc compounds are commonly included for practical oral care purposes. Their presence supports the overall preventative focus of the formula, rather than adding another flashy claim. This is one of those moments where I want to be fair about something. Many products rely almost entirely on advertising language. This one actually includes several functional ingredients that contribute to the purposes described on the package. That does not automatically make it the best toothpaste for every person, but it does mean the ingredient list is doing more work than the front label alone suggests. That matters to me. If you enjoy reading labels instead of headlines, you're exactly the kind of person I hope stays with me, because this is how I've learned to judge products ever since I left my community. Further down the list, I found cocamidopropyl betaine, propylene glycol, sodium saccharin, xanthan gum, citric acid, sucralose, titanium dioxide, flavor, and several other supporting ingredients. None of these suddenly transform the toothpaste into something magical. They improve taste, texture, appearance, stability, and consistency. Every manufactured product needs ingredients like these to deliver a pleasant experience. The important lesson is knowing which ingredients actually perform the primary job and which simply help deliver them. That distinction changes the way you shop. When I first left the Amish community, I believed famous brands must automatically make better products because everyone recognized the name. I was wrong. Sometimes the famous brand earns its reputation. Sometimes it earns only part of it. Reading labels taught me the difference. The same lesson applies here. The front of the tube is trying to sell confidence. The back of the tube explains the formula. Those are not always the same thing. I have also learned not to expect perfection from any manufactured product. Every formula involves compromises. Better cleaning may require ingredients that another person prefers to avoid. Gentler formulas may sacrifice certain features. The right choice depends on your own priorities. That is why I never tell someone to fear an ingredient simply because it has a long name. I would rather explain what it does and let the label speak for itself. That habit has saved me from wasting money more times than I can count. Before I finish, I want to leave you with one simple thought. Premium packaging does not clean your teeth. A familiar logo does not clean your teeth. The ingredient list tells you far more than the advertising ever will. I learned to judge food before I learned to judge anything else. That part of me never left. Today, I judge toothpaste exactly the same way. So here is my question for you. Will you turn over the toothpaste already sitting in your bathroom tonight and read every ingredient? Or will this be the first time you ever have? Now let me close the two questions I opened at the beginning. The ingredient carrying this formula is stannous fluoride, and it deserves much of the credit for what makes this toothpaste different. The whitening story is also much simpler than the front of the package suggests. It comes primarily from gentle polishing ingredients that remove surface stains, not from bleaching the teeth themselves. So, here is my honest verdict. I would buy Colgate Total Whitening if I wanted a well-rounded fluoride toothpaste with several functional ingredients and I was comfortable using its overall formula. I would not buy it simply because the word whitening appears in large letters on the front. The front sells the promise. The back explains the product. That is the label I trust.